to the RunnerX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Welcome back to the RunnerX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach Valerie, we had some interesting conversations on our social media channels, and one that I really wanted to ask you, because I'm one of those people, is this idea of running streaks. Like, I've run for 100 days straight, and maybe it's just a mile, or maybe it's that I've done, so many minutes on my Peloton. That's another great streak. But I'm talking about specifically the running streaks, of course. And the idea that, well, I couldn't do it because my coach wants me to take a rest day, right? I can't do a running streak because I need a rest day. As a coach, is there a way that I could do, as my coach, is there a way I could do both? Can I still have the fun of the continued, I've run every day, or, but I still get a rest day? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, I think so. This is kind of fun because I love these conversations, because my first question as your coach would be, what's your ultimate goal with that? Right? What's the goal of the run streak? That would be my first question.
Kind of to challenge myself to say, I'm going to answer it honestly, because I love the little check marks and stuff. It would be for me to just say I did it for 365 days. I ran every day. That would be what I would want to say.
And then I would say absolutely, because my goal as a coach is to get you to your goal and to get you there pain-free. So then here's the best part of, for me. So if you would agree that running, like, first I would say, well, what is running? Like, what would we agree that running is? Because for me, running isn't just running distance. Running is also running practice, running drills. So my thought would be, I would be happy for you to do a running streak, if that's the goal, right? Every day I want to do running. But I would do a mix of how you did the running. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, whether I'm doing a series of drills or a certain type of workout, you think of the speed workouts or hill repeats or whatever, I'm still running.
Correct.
And I think people forget that.
Well, we struggle with that. And I want to say, because the second challenge to that is, you didn't say, and this is important for everybody, for most run streaks, I see more, it's about accountability, right? The idea that if I'm going to do this every day, it's like this, wow, I got up and I did it, right? Isn't that the excitement of it? Mm-hmm. And so my thought is, with running, I would say to you, okay, then that to me means every day I want to connect with running. And and that's what I would go for. And then we could go with, one day a week. Make each day just a little bit different. That way you're still running. And that's the fun part of running, is people forget that you can practice running. You can do the running as a movement. You can do running drills, and putting it together kind of through different varieties of the running movement. It's just so much easier on your joints. It's a lot more fun to run. And then you would be running, then you would have your streak, if you will.
Now I want to kind of talk about that, because I think a lot of people think that a running streak means you have to, like, we've talked about this, I have to go on the road and I have to run a mile from point A to point B, or half a mile, and then come back to have a full mile. And that's the only way to actually run a mile. And as somebody that's run ultras, you've run ultras, that's not the only way to train, is it? There's all sorts of running things you can do.
Sure. And here's the fun thing with running. So, first of all, I always say that, what is running? Well, running, though, honestly, what is the action in running? The action in running is the pulling of the foot. And the average runner takes 1,500 steps a mile. And we like to say in RunnerX, they pull 1,500 times a mile. So if you start to think about that, instead of thinking, I'm going to go run a mile, you're thinking, I'm going to go do 1,500 pulls. Then I can do pulls on a curve. I could do pulls with a jump rope. I could pull 1, 2, 3 and get a rhythm. I could pull up a hill. I can do walking pulls. And the fun part is, when you're working on the movement of running, then at the end of that well, no, whatever the distance was, if you will. So I did 1,500 pulls and they all felt really good. It just becomes so much of a better movement itself. And absolutely, if you go to an ultra or you do any kind of, that's especially one that's not on a paved road, it's like trail running, you do a mix of running and hiking and trekking and, there's walking intermixed. And we so much want to encourage people to get out, right? So for a lot of people, even that running streak, most people that do some of these, they'll say, oh, I'm trying to run easy or I'm trying to run slow, right? We hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just run. And we're here to tell you that if you said to yourself, man, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to do 1,500 pulls, and they're going to be, wow, I hope they're elastic. And I hope you know what I mean? Like, just changing the way you feel about running, which is what we try to teach in our training, to help people feel what running really is. Then every day, your goal is to get just to feel a little bit better about your running. And then all of a sudden there's your streak, if you will. And by the way, I just real quick, but just recently I helped somebody. Her goal was to run the most 50Ks in a row and break the Guinness Book of World Records. And she did it. It's great. It's really exciting. And I said to her, the challenge isn't so much like you've already made the decision to do it, you see? So you already have that understanding with yourself. And she did a mix of road and trail and and she walked. She didn't stop her watch when she walked. It was a 50K. Right. And I think that that's the challenge with these streaks or with trying to get these records is you have to just first, her goal was to finish and not hurt herself, which she did it, break the world record. And the world record wasn't about time. The world record was about doing so many of them. But I had her do training like I trained someone with just to do a marathon. We didn't train like I'm going to run 12 50Ks. She trained like she was going to, see what I mean? So this is what people should get, is that when you're doing the running training, then you can really run whatever volume you want.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is that it's really interesting that we will look at our running plans, right? Or we'll look at our streak and we'll say, well, today I'm going to go easy, or today I'm going to, I'm not going to go as far, or whatever. We put these modifications to our running that are still modifications. But then when we say, okay, well, how about you just work on the movement and do the pulls as curb pulls, or you do it as walking pulls, or you do it as hill pulls or something like that. Oh, well, that's not running. No, it's the same. You're modifying it just like you would, just like if the old Caroline would go out and do a hard run versus a easy run, which we've already talked about. It's just a matter of falling, right? There's no hard or easy to it. It's more breathing. But it's in my head. So why wouldn't I just say today I'm going to go out and I'm going to do curb pulls versus tomorrow I'm going to go out and do pulls on a line? They're still the same thing, right?
But first you have
am I kind of like trying to morph it the same?
Well, right. But I think, right. And then it goes back to like the original question was, I want to do this running streak. And then as your coach, thinking, I want you to not get injured. Like the reason that we give people recovery days, and there's not really any coach out there that's like, hey, run every single day. Is because running itself is one of the highest impact activities you can do. It just is. Running is a high impact. It's running. And so that's why I laugh with the easy and the hard runs. Running, guys, on your body is running. And for most people, when they try to go slow, unfortunately, what they actually do is spend more time on the ground, which just leads to more injuries. And so as a coach, the reason most people give rest days is to give, your body a chance to recover so it can get back out there again, right? But if your client says, I don't want to rest, I want to do this run streak, then I'm just saying, as your coach, I would say, okay, then how could we help you to run every day? Because that's your goal. So you can still do running. You can still do the action of running. However, we're not going to jar your joints every single day. And that's where we come in. That's where the drills and doing some different movements are so effective.
Okay.
But so one last, we would like you to rest.
Yeah, I was going to say, so one last question. What about those, and I've seen runners in my running group that are like that. Like, okay, today's a rest day, so I'm going to go out and do 20 laps in the pool, or I'm going to go out and I'm going to hike a mountain because I'm in because I can. And it's like,
Yeah,
but it's my rest day. And it's like, okay, but you didn't rest.
right.
Am I right in thinking that they're not resting?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And even guys, even people that train for like multi events, like triathletes, they take a rest day. I think the challenge is, especially runners. Well, I mean, I am one too. I'm guilty. It's
Yeah.
such a challenge to think that resting is actually helping my body recover when most of us feel like if we take a day off, we're missing fitness. And
Right.
everyone around you is like, looks like they're getting their run in, or they're getting extra miles, or they're getting extra distance, or extra whatever. And so many times when you see a day off of running, exactly like you said, that, by the way, there's nothing wrong with active recovery, like going
Right.
for a walk, or something like that, or something enjoyable and relaxing. The challenge is if you take a recovery day where you've been trying to ask your body to perform, you're training for a race, or you want to get out there and really have a good run, and you think a day off is doing more cardio and asking the body to, you're continuously moving again for another hour, 2 hours. Unfortunately, that's not giving the body a chance to rest. So you just have to look at your goals that way. Ask yourself, why do I need to do this extra work if I'm trying to get a recovery day before my next workout? That's it.
Right. Because I think people think, well, I'm not using my legs in swimming, or I'm not pounding, I'm walking, right? But I'm still hiking like 25 miles or whatever I'm going to do.
Well, but also, like, what you're not understanding is the whole point of recovery is you're recovering from what you did the day before, or even the day before that. Right. By the way, the ideal schedule is, honestly, for most people, it's 3 days on, 1 day off.
Okay.
That's really helpful for people to do 2 days of exercise, take a day off, 2 days of exercise. I mean, then you're starting to get a nice way of recovery, but most people want to do 1 day off. So,
right.
just they at least get that day off. The other thing is, right, it's the excitement of the accountability. Like, where's my points for my rest day?
Yeah. I don't get a t-shirt for my rest day, do I?
Right.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. I hope this helped you with your rest days, and maybe even if you're doing a running streak, because we are we're coming up on September here. So you might be going into your 9th month of trying to do something, and I totally get it. So hopefully this will help you. And if you have any questions for us that you would like answered on the RunRx podcast, email support@runrx.fit. That's support@runrx.fit.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRx podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.